Hey kids, how's it going? It's Mr. Hession. Hope you're staying safe and healthy. What we're looking at today is the passage of the 18th Amendment, that is prohibition. So prohibition is the product of a century-long fight to ban alcohol in this country called the temperance movement. It's not coincidence that women get the right to vote and the temperance movement and prohibition takes place at the same time. Many people who supported women's rights also supported the banning of alcohol. The reason for that, we saw a ton of domestic violence and awful behavior associated with alcohol in this country. So when we look at the legacy of the 18th Amendment that was eventually repealed in 1933 by the 21st Amendment, it is a very bad legacy. So what we saw was the rise of illegal crime in this country called the mafia. The biggest mafioso of all was Al Capone. Al Capone ran several speakeasies and liquor distribution routes during the 1920s. And there were many other gangsters, and a lot of blood was shed over alcohol. Okay, illegal Canadian whiskey sales, whiskey from Ireland coming in. There was distribution centers all over the country. And part of the problem why prohibition fails is that there was relatively light enforcement. Although there was enforcement agencies out there, there were still plenty of speakeasies that were established throughout New York City, throughout New Jersey, throughout the country. And there were people who were arrested for selling alcohol, producing alcohol, but they were a drop in the bucket. So we see that the prohibition comes to an end in the early 1930s for one real reason. One, it's costing money to enforce. Two, they needed money. Okay, it's called a sin tax. Governments make a lot of money off of alcohol sales and also tobacco sales. And also, as we see in Colorado, California, they make a lot of money off of the sale of marijuana. Those are, again, called sin taxes. That's why in New York, New Jersey, tobacco sales are typically higher than that, say, in Florida or Oklahoma or Texas. So governments get a lot of revenue for things of that nature. We see that prohibition is pretty much an abject failure. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do. People were still finding alcohol. In fact, many were dying because people were selling tainted alcohol in this country. So although prohibition had well intentions in mind, it is ultimately a failure that also gives rise to the rise of organized crime in the United States. So when we pick back up tomorrow, we're going to continue our studies looking at 1920s fashion and looking at how the 1920s really does shape the United States. Hope you're staying healthy, happy, and safe.